Well, it's interesting if you look at Jesus himself, when he talks about the nature of that week to his disciples, he concentrates a lot on the suffering and death.
Yeah.
He is gonna he is also, talking about the resurrection, but he concentrates a lot on the suffering death because he wants his disciples, to recognize this is a way of life that he's calling them into. I think of, that Mark passage where he asks them, can you drink this cup?
Yeah.
James and John want to rule and reign with him. They're trying to actually get to the ascension.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're shortchanging the, what is coming. And Jesus is calling, and it's an important thing because, you know, and this is just something personally that I'm, just dealing with in my own life and ministry and different things like that. And that is Jesus wants his disciples to know, hey, if you follow me, it increases your chances of suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that is true for every area of life. If you're going to follow God, if you're going to do something great with God, it's going to increase your chance of suffering. And how you understand that, how you move into that, is incredibly important. So important that Jesus would bring the conversation up several times with his disciples, because he wanted to help them step into that. Because honestly, we spend most of our life trying to avoid suffering, trying to avoid that sense of death. But one statement that is just really, continue. I read it years ago, but God continues to bring it back. Comes from Richard Foster, his book on prayer, which I think is just
Hmm.
best
Hmm.
spiritual
Hmm.
formation books that I've ever read. And Foster says this. He says, sometimes God refines our faith by threatening to destroy our faith.
Mm.
And I've just found that to be so true. Like I
Mm.
found that to be so true. But then he'll later say, whatever God kills, he also resurrects.
Mm.
And I think sitting there and understanding, hey, part of the suffering process is a refinement of our faith. And sometimes it feels like in those moments, God is threatening to destroy our faith, but he's really refining our faith. And then the things that God kills, he always resurrects. And so I think, just even as we're talking about Easter and preaching Easter, it's, especially in the world that we live in that's trying to either numb pain or remove suffering, there is a way of life that Easter is inviting us into that is a refining kind of moment before it is a celebration kind of moment.